I'd like to acknowledge the Gadigal peoples of the Eora Nation as the traditional custodians of the land on which we record this podcast, and pay my respects to the elders both past and present. So this is part 2 of my chat with Lyndall. We unpack a little more about her MAFS journey, what the partner swap was like with Ollie, talk about sexuality, and how life has been for her since the show. So let's do it.
We were like, right, okay. I was like, I'm going to Tahnee and Ollie this and just like be with my partner and no one else.
Honestly, I stand by it. I'm happy with just staying out of it. Like,
God.
But let's talk about the partner swap, because I feel like you really got a lot out of spending time with Ollie, and I felt really proud that like he was my partner and he was able to be so, I don't know, so welcoming and just such a nice experience for you. And watching it back, I was fucking cackling at the Cam impression, like just how he was, like the little card he wrote. Like, I just thought that was so sweet.
I know.
And I was like, I feel like Ollie, it makes me feel nice that I could feel like he'd be safe with any of my girlfriends. Yeah. And he would just be, I don't know, people would feel safe with him. Yeah. Which I feel like, I don't fucking weird to say, but like, I don't know, I don't feel always safe with men. Yes. So I think it's nice knowing that, okay, yeah, she feels safe. He's had this really nice space for her to be able to open up about how she feels and, you know, create that safe space. Yeah. And I always was really proud of that. And it just made me really happy that you got to have that experience with him as well.
I like genuinely think that doing the partner swap with Ollie changed the trajectory of my relationship. Like, I had bought my final vows dress and it was not the one that I wore. Cam and I went and picked it out together. Like, I was fully like, yep, this is going to happen. Even though like things were so turbulent. Yeah. And then I went into partner swap with Ollie, and at first I was like, I don't know what to do here.
What's the vibes?
And as well, like, he's one of the guys, and that we had like such a like bro code thing that a lot of the women were fighting against.
100%.
And it was like, I don't really know where Ollie sits in this. I don't know really anything about him. But like after maybe the first hour, it was like, he was like, you know, this is a safe space, and like came like just straight out and told me how he felt about my relationship. And he was like, I feel like you guys don't talk about issues until you're on the couch. And I was like, yeah, because it's mediated there. Yeah. Like, I don't have to de-escalate it by myself. Like, that's 100%. Why. And then because I was talking to him, and then even after we finished filming that day, like, I remember he was like, yeah, let's get Uber Eats and we'll get Jimmy Brings to bring us like a bottle of wine and we'll just like, we'll hang out, we'll watch Ferris Bueller. Yeah. And like that to me, like Ferris Bueller is my dad and my favorite movie. And so it was like, oh, like this is a safe space and I can talk about these things. And it was maybe one of the first times where I felt comfortable to tell someone outside of my relationship what was going on in my relationship because I didn't like it being public knowledge unless I was ready to bring it up. Yeah. I never wanted to be that person in the middle of the dinner table at a dinner party having to hash out my relationship problems. I never wanted that.
So confronting.
Yeah. And so it was like, I don't want to tell anyone what's going on because then if they bring it up, I have to address it then and there and I don't want that. Yeah. So, yeah. And I just remember talking to Ollie about a lot of it and he was like, Linner's, mate.
Yeah, Linner's mate. I was like, where the fuck did you make that up, babe? Like, seriously?
My whole family call me Linner's now.
Like, great. Like, Linner's.
Yeah.
So like, okay.
I'm like, I'm about it.
Sticks.
I'm so about it. I was going to change my Instagram handle to Linner's. I was like, no, okay, like, we'll chill out. But yeah, like, it genuinely did change the ending for me because it made me be like, I remember after the first couple of hours, we did our Voxy before the film crew left. And my producer was like, I have never seen you this nervous. What the fuck is going on? And I was like, I am nervous because I know that the second that I let my guard down here, I'm going to really struggle to go back. Yeah. Like, if I can just be who I am and say what I need to say and get my feelings out and just have them heard. Yeah. And like, not judge, really like have someone go like, oh, do you think that you feel that way because of this or maybe because of this? Rather than being like, bah.
Yeah. Come
like,
at you.
Yeah. And I remember being like, I don't know how I'm going to go back. But we did partner swap and then I think we had girls' night and then...
Oh, I feel like from that partner swap, it just felt like the next week was freaking final hours. Yes. It went by so quickly and it just... I didn't feel ready. I just was like, oh, it's coming to an end. Like, I feel like there was so much... And I don't know why I feel like our season... There was like a week early, like we got a week cut short because of the partner swap, because that normally is not meant to happen. And I feel like that really just messed up where we're at in our relationships for everyone.
I think everyone came back from partner swap and they were like, I don't know what's going on anymore. Yeah. Like, it was crazy. Everyone had a bad time coming back from partner swap.
Everyone had a bad time.
I remember after partner swap was over, I went back to the room and Cam's sitting on the couch like playing guitar and there was like all of the blankets that Alyssa had used like piled up on the couch next to him. And I walked in and I was like, hey. happy to see you. He didn't get up from the couch. He didn't even move the blanket so I could sit down. He just sat there and he was like, yeah. I was like, how was it? He was like, oh, you know, Alyssa cooked for me. It was great. Best 3 days of the whole experiment. And I was like, I want to leave immediately now. And I messaged Hugo because I was like, I need to get out of this goddamn place.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, yeah, come round. It'll be great. I was like, okay, cool. So I went to meet him there. And when I got there, Ollie was there.
I remember
and we were like, what the fuck? I was trying to get away from this
We had
shit.
a fucking fight.
Yes.
Because he was being a dick to me.
Yeah,
And
because he was a grumpy boy.
He was
so
grumpy.
angry that partner swap even happened.
He was not about it.
Misplaced anger, if you ask me.
Yeah. Classic.
Oh my God. But I just remember that. And then like all of the boys went out for drinks after that. Like Rupert and Cam went out for drinks because everyone just wanted to blow off some steam after like
it
that
was
shit
rough.
show.
And I wonder if they'll do it this year. Don't know if it's like
it's hard because like I got a lot out of it, but I also don't
Yeah.
think that it's necessary at all for everyone else.
No.
Like as grateful as I am, I know how bad it was for everybody else.
It was so bizarre. Like I couldn't really.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't not get anything out of it, but I don't think I got anything that.
It certainly wasn't the like pivotal point.
Yeah, it wasn't.
many
Yeah, I think it was
people.
nice maybe hearing Rupert's perspective on Ollie, how Ollie felt about me, but it wasn't anything that I maybe didn't already know. Like I think it was maybe just reaffirming, I guess, how I was feeling and where things were going. But it was fun because I liked Rupert and he was chill. I didn't feel like it was uncomfy, but it just wasn't nice being in your own space. Like I think they really fucked the girls by making us move.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Why did they do that?
Yeah.
I was so stressed. I was like, great. Because I've just got issues with like needing my things in a certain way. I like a routine. I don't like being disrupted in a way like that. I don't mind change, but when it's like I don't get a choice, I have to do this now. I have to make a decision
and
now.
you can't talk to your partner and you don't get anything that you've had consistently for the last 3 months. It's like, all right,
shut
just
down.
pack a bag and leave. Yeah. I mean, personally, I loved living in your apartment because it's so much
Mine
more
was
like what my room would
huge.
look like. It was huge. And you have so many shoes. I was just walking around like, if Ollie leaves me for 5 minutes, I'm going to try all these shoes on.
No, honestly, I remember because me and Linda were the same shoe size, and Linda also, I feel like you're the other person with the cool shoes.
Yes,
I know you always had the good platforms.
All
and
the crew were always like, you and Tahnee, you nailed
the
it. I
shoes.
was like, yeah, thanks.
Well, can we talk about everyone always comparing Lyndall and I, thinking we're the same person? And this started
getting it confused.
Always, even during filming, they would always get Lyndall and I confused.
Yes.
Now even like followers will be like, oh, Lyndall, like they will literally comment assuming I'm Lyndall or vice versa.
Yeah.
And it's so
like,
weird.
Tahnee, you're like, do you think that your partner got a villain edit? And
Uh-huh.
everyone's like, Ollie's the best. And they're like, oh, sorry, I got you
meant
confused with
Lyndall.
Lyndall. I was like, guys, come on.
Okay, great. Which is so weird because I never really understood. I guess we had the similar hair and like body structure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Similar style as well. It was so
And
bizarre.
I think like both like pretty like wholesome, like
Out of
happy,
it.
mostly happy. Like, you know, I don't know. I think we were on the same wavelength.
yeah, it was like
And-
very easy to
Yeah.
to compare. It's so weird. I think back and I'm like sad that we weren't as close during filming because I feel like we like even like Lyndall said before, after the show you really get to know people on a deeper level because I think there's not that pressure of, you know, feeling there's a camera there, like having to just be a type of way. I don't know. It's not as it's just not the same environment. I feel like we were able to get to know each other a lot more and I loved that because I was like, even just from the partner swap when Ollie was saying this amazing thing about you, he was like, oh yeah, like you would really get along with Lyndall. Like I can see you really being friends with her. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like, because you get so much off camera time during partner swap, like, which was so pivotal to like building those relationships.
Having that trust. And like after that, in every like group situation, Ollie fully had my back.
100%.
When I couldn't speak, he would say something and he just knew. And I was like I've said like probably the most important friendship to me, and it was one of the shorter ones.
Yeah.
Like it just did. He changed so much of that experience, and he was always fair.
Yeah.
He was never like, you know, like, I mean, I love the girls, but you know, sometimes
You're
girls
biased.
like, yeah, they're like, you know, like
Fuck the
fuck that guy,
boys.
like
Yeah.
But Ollie was always really fair, and
Yeah.
I think it was really important to hear that as well because it was validating, but also kept me in check. And anyway, and I remember like we did the second publicity day after reunion.
Yes.
And we were walking in to like do the photo shoot together.
Yeah.
And I remember like us walking down the street and you were like, I'm so glad that we got to like know each
I
other. Blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
know.
same though, because there was like, I've obviously like listened to the other podcasts.
Yeah.
There was like that weird
divide.
yeah. And like I was never really aware of it until it blew up at that commitment ceremony. And I was like, oh, fuck, like maybe I should put more effort in with the others, because that's like, I never had any, like I never felt
it was
anything
never your
bad.
intention. And we knew that. I always knew like Lyndall you would never be that type of person to actively do something like that. So I was always, it's just hard because you just, again, like I said, you can't build these friendships.
Other, right?
You don't know each other.
Yeah.
It's awkward, you know?
And like for me, like the first time that I like snuck out and hung out with everyone, it was Cam had invited all these people and Cam gave me Claire's number, right? And then the first thing I asked Claire was like, hey, what's Sandy's number? Yeah, right. Because I was like, Sandy was the one person I really, really spoke to at Hens. And then after that, I was like, I'm not really like inviting anyone. I bumped into Adam in the hallway and got his number. And I went to Cam and I was like, look, I got this number for you. Like, he's going to come to the thing. I think he's going to hang out with Duncan or something. And Cam was like, yeah, I love Duncan. That's great. And I was actually talking to Janelle about this last night, because she was like, I saw you in the lobby and Adam had said that you'd invited him out. And she saw me in the lobby after he told her. Yeah. And she was kind of waiting for me to invite her. But I don't know why I didn't. Like, I don't know why I wouldn't have done that. I think I would have said to Adam, invite Janelle.
But why didn't Adam invite Janelle?
Exactly. That's what I thought would have happened, because he was telling me they were really happy. Yes.
Yeah, they were in a good place.
Yeah.
So I wonder why he didn't. So weird.
Yeah. And then I think someone had said to me that she was following the rules because she'd broken a rule and that she was on lockdown or something.
Well, she had come into my room and was really upset. I can't remember if that was before or after. Fuck, I honestly, everything just feels like a blur. But Janelle had come into mine and Ollie's room and she was really upset. They had just had a fight. They were out at dinner.
Yes.
And I didn't say anything to anyone. Thought we got away with it. I think Ollie made a comment to Adam. He ran into him in the hallway and was like, is Janelle okay? And then he's obviously, because I was like, it wasn't you, Janelle. It wasn't me. Yeah. It was Ollie and Adam. Like, they let it slip.
Classic boys.
Classy. I was like, because there were so many times, like, Jessie had come in our room one time to give me a puzzle after a retreat, because we were, like, obsessed with doing puzzles. And no one ever found out about that, and it wasn't like a big thing. Yeah. So it was like, oh, okay, cool. But I was really, I think maybe my not downfall, but I feel like I didn't want to break the rules that much. Yeah. I didn't want to get in trouble.
Well, I didn't either, but I was with Cam, who did not care about any of the rules.
Arguably the worst.
So it's like every time I would like go out and do something, I would end up like, I'd be like, all right, let's meet up for dinner. And I'd get there's like 6 other people there. And I'm like, great, babe, do you not remember getting yelled at by the executive producers literally a week ago for exactly this? They are scary. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I remember that first week. And then like after all of us that went out, it was the night of the kiss, but I genuinely did not see or know anything about that at the time. But it was after that, and they came into our room and they like got so angry at us for going out. And then like 10 minutes after they left, I got called out. I don't know, Hamish was like, oh, Lyndall, can you come with me? And it was the 2 execs as well. And they were like, okay, just so you know, like we know that you were back by curfew and you were trying to follow the rules, and everyone else was like super drunk and late, but you came home to at least follow the rules that you could. And like most of what we were saying was to Cam.
Directed
so just,
at him. Yeah.
And I was like, okay, thanks. Thank you so
much.
I will never do anything bad by you ever again.
I literally felt like a high school kid at camp or something.
And I'm such a teacher's pet.
I'm like, I don't want to fucking get in trouble.
I know. I'm like, if I don't break any of the rules, then I can't be in trouble, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and I can't stand that. I'm like, they've told me what the rules are. I'm an adult. I should just obey the rules.
I feel like us following the rules didn't give us a shit edit. So honestly, stand by it.
Fan faves.
It was so funny because when we did a shoot, like a publicity shoot together, and then we and maybe it was the first week when MAFS aired, there's like all these, basically it's like announcing who the brides and grooms are. And Lyndall and I were tipped as a fan favourites, and we were so excited about it. We're like, hell yes, unproblematic queen.
Oh my God, I know. And then there were all these other ones. Like, I remember Cam got like never been kissed, and I was like, rough.
Lol, yikes.
Oh God.
So funny.
What a time.
What a time.
I was stoked with that though.
It's so crazy that it's like over a year now, and it's like, that was just such a journey for us, and now we've gone back to like life and what it is. Because even like, okay, I will say this, from reunion, like how much shit happened. If they had waited an extra month, wouldn't it have been so juicy, the reunion?
Oh my God.
Seriously, there would have been so much stuff that happened, and you really can change your opinion on people even just within that split time. Because I know between even airing and reunion filming, I was like, oh, my opinions of people changed, like situations happened, and I was like, oh fuck, I wish that was highlighted at reunion, I wish that was brought up. And like it's just a shame, because it's like, oh, they really should have like pushed it out an extra little bit of time.
Well, it's like, I think they did an all-star reunion where they got a bunch of people back from different seasons.
great.
And I'm like, if they ever do that, opt me out, babe. I do not want to address this ever again.
That would be a lot.
I know.
God.
Yeah, I remember reunion was interesting because I think I found out about
Heaps of other
whatever
stuff,
with Cam and Taylor like a few days before I flew to Sydney. And I was like, I haven't even processed this myself yet. I'm still really emotional about it.
Yeah.
And then but I also heard that Cam had gotten someone's number the same week that Dan and Harrison did because he was with them.
That's true.
And the sneaky little
he was out of that
snakes.
completely.
Yeah. So Dan, obviously, it's Dan, Harrison, and Cam. They all go out, and apparently they all get numbers. Dan's with Sandy, who was like my closest friend at the time. Yeah. Harrison's with Bronte, who was one of my other closest friends. And Harrison and Dan had told their wives, hey, yes, this happened, but Lyndall and Cam have already talked about it and they don't want it getting brought up on camera, so don't bring it up.
Yes.
And so I never found out. I never knew.
This.
Cam was like, no, I wasn't even there.
Little liar.
And then I found out, I think like one of the Perth people like said it we went and got coffee after filming Wrapped, but before reunion. And it got brought up there. And they like, I remember Ollie looking at me and being like, huh? How did you not know?
Yeah.
And I was like, why would I have known? Who told me? Like what? Yeah.
It just, that's so
And that
annoying.
sent me into a spiral.
That's really
and then I found out
annoying.
the other stuff and I was like, this little gremlin.
Yeah.
I was pissed.
Fuming.
Yeah.
It's hard. I feel like I hope that he can go away and have that self-reflection, and he obviously looks happy in his relationship now.
Yes.
And I really hope that that's what he needs, and that's the type of person that can work through maybe the challenges that he may have when it comes to relationship dynamics.
Yes. Yeah.
Because everyone deserves love. Like, no one's perfect.
Absolutely.
And I think, as well, I'm never going to advocate for people getting hate, and I know Cam does cop a lot as well. Yes. But all I can just wish for is that they've been able to take out their experience and grow from it and know, okay, yeah, I was a bit shit there. I probably won't act like that again. Yeah. I won't do that to someone else. And then that's the positive. Like you have to hope that that's what, they take, although they didn't get someone from MAFS, that's what they're taking out as like a self-growth situation, you know?
And I think like with Cam, like I obviously did a lot of work for myself to understand who he was and accept that.
100% you did.
And like it's less, I think like less for me, it was less about forgiveness and more about just accepting who he was.
Yeah.
And I think he is happy now. I hope he's happy now. We don't talk at all.
Yeah.
But I also think that I actually listened to him on a podcast a while ago and it made me, it was like almost relief because he was saying about the relationship. And I think he said something like, like Lyndall knew before the end that things weren't going to, like that we weren't going to stay together. Yeah, I think she knew for a while. And they were like, oh, so do you think that she just stayed for the followers? And I was bracing for impact when they were having this conversation. And he was like, he said, no, she was there for genuine reasons and she really wanted it. Yeah. And I was like, okay, even if he could never admit that to my face, he didn't have to say that. Yeah. And I do feel, I was saying this last night to some of the others, I was like, I do feel that I got really lucky in the way that Cam and I have just kind of gone our separate ways. There hasn't been the whole like, I'm going to send in screenshots and expose what they've done and like pick up on every little bad thing that they ever did because we all made mistakes.
Absolutely.
And I think that like I got really lucky in that like there hasn't been all this like online beef afterwards. Like we both can be hurt. We can both still have our experience, but we can also both just move on and be like,
absolutely.
Look, I want the best for you and we should not be in each other's lives, but like good luck and
No, I think that's
so that's
nice.
been really like, I think it's been like almost respectful, which is
I
not
think
something
so
I was
too.
expecting afterwards.
And that's what normal everyday outside MAFS relationships should be like, right?
You
shouldn't
just
have
move
this
on.
like beef, and you'd never have a situation where you're sending screenshots into the Daily Mail and trying to expose each other. Like it's so unnecessary like that. But I mean, it's all part of the MAFS
I know.
empire, whatever you want to call it. But no, I've always, I guess, respected that he's never really been about the I don't know, the show business of, I don't know, he's just never
It's
really
like,
had that.
I have actually joked before that he's like the perfect villain because he can go in and then like be shit and then they'll like give him like a worse edit as well, and then he just comes out, he's like, yeah, oh well, just gets on with it. Cool. Yeah, I think his lifestyle and everything like that, like he's happy, he's got a girlfriend, he works remote, like he's doing all the things that he loves to do.
Yeah,
hopefully happy and
we've given him his space to kind of do his thing, and happy for him.
Yeah.
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 So what is dating for you like now? What's the vibe? Are you dating? What's the current situation with you?
After airing finished, I was like, well, I mean, after filming finished, I was like, I'm in my hot girl era, and then very quickly realized that I had a problem with affection.
Oh, no. Like the trauma's coming up.
Yeah. Like I could be drunk and like kiss someone in a club, but like if you try to hold my hand on a date, like don't touch me. I've got the ick, see you later. And I obviously knew that was because of like the learned behavior from my last relationship. And so I was like, okay, well, you know, I think I also like I started off with this really strict rule of no second dates because I was like, I have been messed around for months. I do not have room in my life for complications. And I was like, if we aren't like vibing and if things don't feel good and if I'm not like super excited to see this person again, then I'm not going to. And I did like start speaking to and go on a couple of dates with some women as well. But I found that it was 10 times more complicated because if we got like papped, like if someone was at a bar and they saw me like with another woman like being flirty or like whatever, then it's like you're potentially outing that person who might be out to their friends, to their family, but maybe not to their workplace.
Putting them in that situation.
And being on like a big platform and like having all these articles written about you. And I just that made things really complicated because then it was like, right, well, we can only go on dates if it's inside and no one can see us. And like Perth's a pretty chill place to be. Yeah. But it's like if I'm like hanging out with a guy friend, everyone that comes up and says hi, they're like, oh my God, is this your new boyfriend? And I'm like, no.
That must be so rough. Like I can't even imagine what that's like. Obviously, us having very different journeys. Like, I think if Ollie and I were to ever, God forbid, break up, I really think I would struggle to go back in that dating space for exactly the reasons you've just mentioned. Because say if you're not even anything serious with the person you're dating, you're seeing with them, you then have to kind of like talk about it or you're kind of forced to like, is it a thing, is it not? Because that's the expectation of what people want to know from you. And it can make things tricky. So I really don't envy that you have that as well, especially when it's like dating women too. Because I don't know, not many people know. It was pretty from Hen's night. We all had a conversation.
We did.
We all laid on the table who was bi, who was not. Yeah. And there was a few of us, myself included. Yeah. Again, it's out there, but I don't think people I don't think people. I don't know. I don't really think I've talked about it too much, but it's definitely been out there. And I think Lyndall, like I've always known. I don't know. I just got that vibe from you straight away. I don't know if it's just like the vibes.
Like, hey, queen.
No, you just get the vibes.
She's so slay. She's so young.
And I just loved when you did that Instagram story a while back, and you're like, guys, I have Miley Cyrus posters. I thought it was obvious, and I'm like, so fucking true. I was like, Miley Cyrus is like the key if you like if you're a Miley Cyrus gal, most likely.
That is your game.
So
awakening.
80%.
I know. Oh my God. And like I remember putting it on my story thinking it was just like I was trying to make like the smallest event of it when I put it up. I was like, yeah, you know, like I'm gonna be celebrating Pride as a bi queen myself or whatever I said. And then it was all over the internet. And I remember my mum calling and she was like, yeah, I saw it on your stories and your dad read it in a Perth Now article. And I was like,
Perth Now,
sorry,
bloody
guys,
Perth Now.
because I wasn't out to my parents.
Yeah, right.
But I also like, I feel very lucky that I've never had to come out because I always knew that I would just be supported. And I was like, well, you know, if I ever start dating someone of the same sex, then I'll have those conversations.
Sure.
But yeah, it wasn't something I was hiding, but it also wasn't like public knowledge. Yeah. So I think I was just like, YOLO, rip the Band-Aid off. And then
it's interesting that things then have to be public knowledge, and that's something that I wouldn't even think. I don't know. I just don't think it's a big deal. No, it's like it's just not a big deal. I don't know. I feel like
I've always felt like that. Like it's not something that I decided or need to announce. It's just who I am.
Yeah.
And I think like I know how lucky I am that that's my situation. But like I'm also so aware like I have other friends in the queer community that haven't had that experience. And so like again with the dating, it's just like it makes it so much more complicated that you might be putting someone else in a position where they aren't out.
Yeah.
Like I came out to everyone and it was everywhere in these articles, but I knew that was going to happen. Yeah. And if it was somebody else who might be out in their circles, but again, like it would make me feel sick to like put someone in that position unless they were really sure and really ready. Yeah.
And was there like, I guess coming to your like terms of your sexuality, was there like a kind of key moment? Because I was thinking back, and this is so fucking random. Like the first time I was like, Because I've always been attracted to women. I've always found,
Yes.
I would argue women are more attractive than men. I've just always felt that. And this is so fucking random, but I've been in a zone of watching Pirates of the Caribbean. I think Keira Knightley was one of the first, like, watching it. I was like, I always thought she was so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I was really trying to think back. I was like, Bender like Beckham. I was like trying to drill back to like me as like a teenager, of me just kind of existing before you dated, right? And what you found, what you found attractive. And I always was like, and then watching it back, I'm like, this has sparked a lot of memories for me.
Oh, God.
Was there anything that you can remember that kind of was like, oh, maybe I do like girls, or maybe I'm a bit more, I don't know, was there anything that a kind of key moment that you felt?
I mean,
it's so hard sometimes to kind of pinpoint a single moment.
Definitely. I think it's like, it was always there, but I was always like, oh, but like women are just really pretty. Like they are. They're like so much more gorgeous. Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, that's totally normal. That's what everyone thinks. And then it's like, no, that's not what happened. And I remember like in high school, one of my like closest high school friends is like raging lesbian. Yeah. And she wasn't out, but I always kind of knew as her best friend. And then I think like just like leaving high school and then going to uni and like, being at parties and playing like Truth or Dare and making out with women and stuff. Her and I always had this rule, like in our group, if we're playing Truth or Dare, you can never dare us to kiss each other.
Okay.
And like everyone just obeyed it. Like nobody even questioned it. They were like, yep, no, that can never happen. If someone new came into the group and they dared us to, everyone would go like, no, that's not how we work here. And I so now know that that's because everyone had this undertone of like, they're really good mates, and if they kiss, it's going to be weird.
It's real.
Because they're both a little bit gay. Like they can't do that. I was like, and like I was literally with her this week and we were talking about that with our old high school friends because it was her hens night, and we were just like, everyone knew and we just like hadn't said it. Like that's why it was weird. It wasn't weird because of anything else.
Yeah. How funny.
Yeah.
And going into MAFS, were you open to having a wife? Because I know when I was doing the application and I said I just wanted a husband. I think I was very, I don't know, I think I thought, which is probably not the best way to think in hindsight, but I just felt like if I go into this, I feel like, I don't know if MAFS is the safest space to go into a same-sex relationship. And I don't know if they're going to be able to give the tools that is needed to make that relationship work. I think it would be a bit of a tokenistic thing. Yes. And I just felt like, I don't know if I want to put myself up there for that. Yeah, just for that experience. I don't know if that's the kind of, which I feel shit about because obviously like would be open to that. But I just don't know why I hesitated when doing that. I was like, oh my God, we could have been matched. I was like, we could have been matched. Seriously. But I was like, I don't know if I did the maybe. I think there was options, but I was really thinking about it, and I was like, would that be the safest space to pursue something like that? I don't know. I feel like probably not.
I was exactly the same. So it was like, what's your sexuality? And I said, I'm bisexual. Yeah. And then it was like, would you be open to being matched with a woman? And I said no, because I think I was, and I am still very open to a relationship with a woman, but like any gender, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
anyone.
I think when I went in, I was like, this situation's gonna be complex enough. And right now I feel comfortable in my sexuality, but if I say yes now and then we get 8 months down the track when you get selected to go on, am I really going to be prepared for that? And is the experiment prepared for that? And I still think coming out of it, I was talking about this yesterday, that it's a big platform, bigger than you could ever prepare for. And I don't think, having done it myself, that they're ready for that.
Yes, I agree.
I did see that the same-sex couple from this year's
has
cast
already
bounced.
Left.
And I was like, it's so important to have that representation on a platform. But you have to have the structures in place to support that, because
100%.
they, like, homosexual or like not heteronormative relationships are so much more complex.
Absolutely.
And so it's like to be out as queer, to be in a pressure cooker situation like that, and for it to be broadcasted,
to be judged by the whole of the world.
Yeah,
it's just when people got shit to say, like I just don't know if I could be open to that.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I said no because I was like, it's going to be hard enough as it is. Like,
totally.
let's just keep
Let's
it
just
nice
take
and
it a step
simple.
at a time.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if I'd
Maybe
said
next
yes,
year.
things would have been different.
We would have been matched.
Oh my God, could you imagine?
Dead. But it's so, yeah, I hope MAFS can get to that point where we are seeing more same-sex couples or more non-binary people. I just don't know if that conversation's ready to be had and if the
Not in
audience
Australia
is open to
anyway.
that. Yeah.
And I think like seeing the UK and how much more progressive they are in those kinds of areas, it's like they've also moved away from the like high volume, intense drama. Like there's still drama, absolutely. But I just think that the Australian MAFS is so like punchy in terms of drama. And so to have
There's
a
a
gay
formula.
couple and then also like, look, if things don't work out between a gay couple and what normally happens, which is one person in the relationship is villainized and the other person is not.
Yes. How does that go down?
Yes. And is that conducive to giving queer people a platform like that? Like, is that going to be helpful? Like, if you're a bad person, like you're a villain, right?
Yeah.
But also, if you're in a situation where you don't end up together and then they have to tell a story, how do you pick that? And then you're putting this person who's already putting themselves out there enough in this situation where they're already copping hate just for existing.
Yeah.
And then also all of the added layers on top of that of like being on MAFS and in reality TV. So I don't know. It's so important and you want representation, but it has to be right. And I don't see that happening for them in the current format that I experienced.
I agree. I hope it can change. And I think
Same.
you want to see more of that because there's been even discussions like bringing same-sex like onto like Love Island and stuff. Like there's been more of those discussions and I think that would be amazing. Like we've seen a little bit of it like kind of some people come through.
Yeah.
Stunning.
That
Love
was
her.
so good.
Yeah, love her. Like that's
Same.
amazing. But I still feel like she copped a lot of that judgment from the public and there's still that conversation. She was definitely like groundbreaking and paving that way, but there's still so much to like so far to go with that. And I think you need people like
even in the Australian public, like the way that they received that was
a lot of issues there. Like it's pretty disgusting, but yeah. Look, I'm excited to see where things are going to go with MAFS, but I don't know if that's the way it's going so far.
Yeah.
We'll see. What is advice you would give to the current MAFS cast or anyone thinking of applying? What would you what was like the things that you would tell them to do or to not do?
Right. Okay. I mean, the thing I always told Cam is don't bite the hand that writes your story.
Yes.
It is not hard to be nice to people. Just be nice and respectful. You signed up to the rules, follow the rules. Like, you know, you're allowed to break a rule here and there, get your nails done with one of your friends, but like, every time I broke a rule, I found out immediately afterwards why the rules were there. Yeah. They're there for a reason. And like, if you just listen to them, you're going to have a much easier time.
Yeah.
And
during and afterwards, I'll tell you that for free.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. And then I think just like personal advice, and I know it's a massive cliche, but I sat down for a really long time before I went in and went through all of my like biggest flaws and triggers to know exactly who I was, and that if those things were used against me or if they were highlighted in the experience and in airing afterwards, that I would be able to face that.
Yeah.
And so I think it just like made me feel a lot more level. Like I really knew who I was and I knew where those like flaws in me were coming from.
Yes.
And so then I think that helped in the way that I behaved, in the way that I saw everyone else. And then as well, like watching it back, I could already accept maybe like, oh, you know, it's like, yeah, I know I can get snarky when I'm under pressure.
Totally.
And like, I don't love that about myself. I try to work on it, but I also know that might come up. And like just things like that, like just knowing who you are and just staying true to that.
Yeah.
And just,
Yeah. I will say one note with that is Ollie always made a point that he loved the fact that you were always open to criticism or anything. Like you could really say, oh, I didn't like the way you did that, or you could always say that to you. You'd never be defensive. You'd never be an asshole about it. You'd be like, oh, okay, yeah. Like you'd take it on board, and you would, whether you gave shit about it or not, you always listened, and you were always very just, I don't know, I just always loved the way you would be like, oh, okay, yeah, like I'll take that in consideration. Or, you know, when, like we said with the girl divide, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I definitely didn't mean to do that. You were always very receptive to any feedback or criticism. And I've always loved that about you, because it's hard. Like, I know I can really struggle with criticism and, you know, with someone calling out something that, I probably know that about myself that I don't really want to, I'm pushing that aside. I don't want to know about that. And it's a hard thing to do. So I've always loved that. And I think if you can go into an experience like this, being open to your flaws and knowing that you're not perfect, none of us are, you're going to be more open to changing. Because I think during such a experiment like this, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about yourself, positive and negative. And I think you've really got to approach it with being open to discovering that.
100%.
Because it's a lot.
I remember having that conversation with Ollie as well. He was like, when I first met you, I thought you were performative. And I'm like, I can see that. Like, because you never saw me when I was like angry at someone.
Standing up for something.
Yes. And I totally understood that. And I knew that was the case. But I was also like, but you know, if I just keep existing in the same room as people, they'll understand why I'm like that. And Ollie and I obviously came to a really good understanding of that. And, you know, even with like, I remember going up to Mel with the Girl Divide and like, I think if you really drill down into what's important, for me, it was always like, I can say sorry. Yeah. I can say sorry to someone and I can take that on. My first priority when someone gives me criticism is making sure that the fallout of whatever I've done is repaired. Yeah. So I was like, you know, like when I was listening to your podcast with Mel, it was like, I just felt bad for participating in something that made you guys feel like you were on the outside, because I know that was never the intention. Absolutely. And I can say that to the cows come home, but that doesn't mean you didn't feel it.
Totally.
And so it's like, that's the point. Yeah. It's not like, I don't know. You have to be able to swallow your pride. You have to be able to be accountable. And if you're not, like,
good luck.
And my luck. Yes. And my last bit of advice is that everything comes out. Everything comes out.
And they know everything.
If you just own it, then it doesn't turn into this big thing that you're trying to hide. It might not even get aired in the end. Like that's what I saw with people like owning their stuff. Yeah. Sometimes it had to play out. Yeah. But if you try and hide it, or if you like defend yourself and get all yelly, like, nobody's going to like you for that.
No one's going to like that.
And they're going to love it because it's exactly what they want. Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's my advice.
So let's finish off with a game called Chuffed or Not Chuffed. So I'm going to give you a couple examples or just a couple things, and we'll dissect Chuffed or Not Chuffed. I think you're going to like this one. So first one is the Barbie movie, Chuffed or Not Chuffed. What was your thoughts? We haven't spoke about this yet.
Oh my God, I know. Okay. I personally loved the Barbie movie. Yep, I think that there was a lot of criticism of it from the I don't want to say hardcore feminist, because I think I'm hardcore feminist, but there's a lot of criticism from the feminist movement that it wasn't in depth enough. Yes. And I kind of look at it as it's this global sensation. It has to be palatable to people that don't have the same understanding as me. And I thought they did a really good job of that. And I loved that they didn't villainize anyone. Yes. There was no big bad guy. Everyone was understood in the end. Everyone had a purpose. And if they were villainized, it was in a funny way. Yep. I loved that because I think that is the problem, is that it's like there aren't bad guys and good guys all the time. It's actually just everyone's having a different experience. Situational. Yeah. It also made me have an existential crisis, which I didn't love so much.
I love it. So I watched it a couple of times. The first time I watched it when I was like crying at the end scene, and I was like, "What is wrong with me? Yes. What is wrong with me?" Right. Like, seriously,
I genuinely like that bloody Billie Eilish song. That one line that was like, I'm just something you paid for. That's how I felt coming out of MAFS. I was like, I was just this entertaining thing. And I got nothing from it. Like, not nothing from it, but, you know, like, I felt like I really, like, I blew up my life. And then I came out and I was like, that's all I am to people, you know? Like, there's all these people that, like, know me now. Yeah. And I'm just something that, and, like, I'm okay now. But at the time, I was like, damn, it's making me have a lot of big feelings.
It was really, like, I was expecting to be this fun, girly, pink movie about a doll. And I was like, wow, they really did touch on subjects that were, like, okay, these conversations need to be had. I feel like some stuff I definitely didn't like. I didn't think it was like amazing. Like, I didn't really love the cellulite joke, and I didn't love a couple little things in it. Yeah. But overall, I'm like, it's a movie about a doll. There's so much you can do about talking about feminism and what it means. Yeah. And in a 2 hour, however long it is, we can't talk about all the issues in the world and what we need to fix. And sometimes it's just like fun, entertaining, like an entertaining thing. And I just loved it. I need every single outfit.
Oh my God, yes.
Seriously, I was like, when I was watching it, I was like, this is like me and Lyndall. Like, we were always it's actually me, you, and Alyssa were the pink girls.
Yes.
We were always
fighting each other to wear pink at the dinner parties.
Because you couldn't wear the same shade of pink. So you'd have to get your outfits approved before, and I was always trying to wear pink. And
I remember like you saying at the end of filming like Final Vows about your reunion dress that you'd already had it approved. I was like, I need to get onto this. So I was like, I can't do pink, but I'll do red.
Yeah. I love it. And I love Disney. Like one of my favorite. I feel like
you wore it to the hands, and I know.
We bonded over that. We're like
did.
Perth designer vibes. Love it. No, I love that. That's one of my fucking favorite brands. Like I absolutely love them.
No,
Their
same.
Stuff is,
same.
I want everything from them.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, chuffed or not chuffed, the boxing match.
Oh, it's hard because like I had a fun night, but I also regret it. Like, I mean, I never regret anything, but I think it was like, for me, I came over from Perth to see my girlfriends and have a fun time. Mm-hmm. There was all this shit about Bronte. Like, someone was trying to get her to wear a Team Harrison shirt, and I had to be like, absolutely no. And like, lol, Bronte can say what she wants about being like a fiery Scorpio. She's also a massive softie. And so like, if you push her hard enough, she'll crumble.
She'll buckle, yeah.
And I had to step in and be like, no, she's not doing that at all. Like she can be a big person and say that she's moved on from everything without wearing his name on her shirt. I don't think that's helpful for anyone involved.
No.
But yeah, and it was hectic. And then like, I think at the time it was just like a bit of fun.
Yeah.
And then coming out, everyone was like, oh my God, it's so gross and blah, blah, blah. And I was like,
whatever.
I don't know. It's just like I went to catch up with my mates that I hadn't caught up with. It was a nice little like girls trip plus Hugo, and then
Hugo. Yeah. I fucking love Hugo. He is just so random. Like when I think that's the first time he's ever posted a fucking story in like
he hasn't posted
6 months.
anything. He hasn't posted a single thing since the show. And I remember like he came over for prees. And I was like, right, you are posting stories. Yes. It is girls' night. You are one of the girls. We are here. You are doing it. And I even got DMs from people being like, "Why? Like, where did Hugo go?" And I was like, people were like, why hasn't he got his account back? And I was like, he's got it. He's definitely got it. Oh my God. But yeah. And I mean, okay, I guess as well, there was like a really nice, so it was the 1 year anniversary of Harrison and Bronte's wedding.
Shut up.
I know. We were like, that's full circle. That's full circle.
Wow.
So like, I think that for her was a really big like symbolic ending of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then as well, I saw Taylor, and I hadn't seen her since reunion.
Oh yeah. Yes. How would that go down?
I mean, I felt pretty good going into it. We weren't sure if she was going or not, but we were there first, and then she arrived. And I'd kind of discussed with the girls. I was like, I think what I'm going to do is when she gets there, I'm going to be like, hey, it's been a really long time, but like it's nice to see you, because I don't know, like we never really had any like beef other than the big thing that happened, right? Like, and
which was so stupid.
Yeah, and it happened so long ago now for me, and I'd also like seen everything that happened to the Logies, and I was like, no, thank you. I don't want to ever like have to be a part of that.
Oh, dude, seriously.
I was like, yeah, and I think like it was actually quite nice, because then we ended up like just happening to like sit down next to each other, and we caught up, and I like asked her about how Tassie was, and she told me all about her dogs, and like I was like, there was a moment there where I was like, I actually think we would have been fine. Like if it wasn't for all like the like MAFS beef, I think like we would have just gotten along like everyone else. Yeah. Yeah. And it was really nice that we got to do that. And I think everyone had a better time, because I think people were worried at first. Sure. And so like it was actually like nice to enjoy her company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally forgot. Then I saw you guys together, and then I was like, oh, wait a second. I was like, I totally forgot about everything, because again, like you said, it's so long ago. Like we've really moved on from like certain things. And yeah, it's just nice to have that like with us all being together. It's such a rare thing. So it's nice that you could then see like the girls have like a little girls trip and do that. Like that's nice. At the end of the day, it's just like that's what you went to do. You saw a cute event. And like people just need to relax, man. Like
I know.
Okay, whatever.
Also, like, come on, it was a free ticket. I got to see Harrison get a few smacks.
I know.
So,
because I know Harrison's probably going to comment on this. Hi, Harrison.
Hey, Tom. Miss you.
We'll be at your next fight. Thanks for the invite. We didn't get one. So you'd say not chuffed, semi-chuffed?
Chuffed about the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, not chuffed with the public response because it wasn't that deep, guys. Come on.
It was not that deep.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever that deep.
Yeah.
And then the last chuffed or not chuffed is life after MAFS.
I feel like I have days where I'm not chuffed, but most of the time I'm pretty chuffed. Like I've met some incredible people. I feel like I've obviously had such a positive response since being on the show, and like I got to meet amazing people that I get to still be friends with and like watch what they're all doing and whatever. And I think like all the things that are bad that I'm not chuffed about after the show are actually getting a lot easier.
Yeah, great.
Yeah. So chuffed. It was hard, but I'm glad I did it.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, I think that's all we've got time for. But I have loved having you on, Lyndall. It's so nice to like catch up, rehash just what we freaking went through.
Right.
Because we just never have that time. I don't think we've ever been able to sit down for this long and just talk about everything. So it's been
cut the
really
chat.
Cut the chat. Honestly, we need cut the chat merch. That would be always what was screamed at us by production when we would try and have any ounce of like
come
general
on, guys.
chat.
Come on,
Cut
guys.
the chat.
Yeah.
But it's been so great having you on and really
you
nice
so
to
much
kind of
for
chat
having me.
further. And I'm sure I'll probably see you again soon.
Yes.
So thanks for watching and listening, guys. And I'll see you next week. Bye.